I'll tell you what, guys, I've just been sitting here for about an hour and a half just trying to sort through everything, figure out what I want to structure my videos around today. And there's just so much information and so much crap going on in the world right now. It's almost overwhelming, but I think I got a little strategy here. So it's going to be two videos this one's just going to focus on an entire scattershot version dumb shit by Biden here today, and then we're going to take a look at the mistreatment of troops and what the fallout of that's going to look like. So there's so much crap here, so let's just get started. So the $15 minimum wage is, yep, for federal employees. It's a thing. I don't think that there are many, if any, federal employees who would make less than $15 an hour. I could be mistaken, but at least the fact up here in Canada is most federal jobs are of the highest percentile pay grade, and $15 is, would never even come close to that. You're looking at like $20, $25 an hour, even for fucking menial pencil pusher type jobs. So let's see here, because there's a little bit more to parse out here than it's just, $15 minimum wage. Not quite. There's a couple other regulations as well. The order instructs the Office of Personnel Management to develop recommendations to agencies that would ensure as many employees as possible get a $15 minimum wage. So when that goes out nationally to everybody else out there, it's going to be for everybody, regardless of your small business. And here's your $1,400. Now go fuck your mother. Yeah. So as many as possible when you're working for the government, though. We have different rules, and we're going to see that coming through very strongly through the rest of these videos and the rest of this one as well. Assuming a standard 40-hour work week, yes, it breaks down to $31,200 a year. And also, they get emergency paid leave, which is probably pretty cool. I'm not terribly against that by any means. If you have a family emergency or something, you should have, I don't know how long the emergency paid leave is. If it's a week, if it's 2 weeks, that's fine. And that's all right. Okay. I'm totally okay with that. This is something the president talked about in the campaign, that we are using our taxpayer dollars. Federal contractors should provide the benefit and pay the workers deserve, said Brian D's nuts. Got him. Director of the National Economic Council at the press briefing. In addition, the Biden order removes Trump-era Schedule F jobs. And here's where this gets fucking stupid, because I hate this. What it does is it turns government jobs into something where after a little bit of time, you get tenure, like professors who indoctrinate the people who are currently involved and currently staff these government positions. They give them those kind of provisions, and the article explains here. Within the government's career civil service for employees in confidential policy determining, policy making, or policy advocating positions. Okay. So to me, that also reads as people that during the Trump administration who would come in and who would advise on policy decisions, who would advise and work on a temporary basis in order to make sure that a project gets done. And then they can just fucking scatter off to the 7 seas or whatever the fuck they want to do, and then maybe come back when there's some needs that are there. Okay, why would you keep them under the government payroll if they're just going to be there to, I don't know, twist a pen at a fucking desk? It doesn't make any sense. Schedule F jobs exist for a reason. I mean, you're working on a temporary basis, right? You should be able to, release those people once the job is done. And that's how, for as many criticisms as I've leveled at Trump when it comes to relying too heavily on his business acumen and not enough on his political acumen, that is something that he brought over from the business world that is very smart and would make the government, and it did make it run a little bit more efficiently. But oh no, those are gone because we got a career politician here. He knows how things works. Listen, here's the deal. The new order also overturns a series of executive orders signed by former President Donald Trump in May of 2018. These previous orders made it easier for the federal government to fire poor performers. Here's what I was meaning when I was linking everything to tenure. Further limited official time for federal employees can use to conduct union activities. And directed agencies to renegotiate collective bargaining agreements with federal unions under stricter parameters. Yeah, you see, all of that stuff is good, okay? Because unions For people who have never been a part of a union or haven't been adjacent to somebody who has worked in a union, knows something different than what the public gets fed, okay? Unions serve their purpose, okay? But eventually they get to a point where they become more bureaucratic and more concerned with keeping themselves in power than the people that they report to unionize, okay? Their union dues end up funding this bureaucratic type entity and ends up usurping the needs and desires of the actual workers. And more or less, just take a look at police unions. They end up siding and keeping bad cops around, guys that eventually acquire immunity, which is collectively bargained for after a certain amount of time, and just creates the old boys club. So unions accomplish their goals and should be dissolved after a while. That's the same type of rhetoric you see from communism. Oh, it should all come together, you'll all work together, and then utopia, and then nobody will need government, except for we're never going to get to that point because people need to get paid and do minimal amounts of work. Under the newly signed order, agencies will no longer have to follow those Trump-era labor irregular relations policies. Yay! In a Biden administration, agencies are no longer under orders to strip long-held rights from contracts, run roughshod over employees, and unilaterally impose workplace policies that disrespect their service to our country, says union bureaucrat Tony Reardon from the NDEU. Ugh, anything that ends in EU is automatically just a gag reflex inducer. So yeah, old Biden's been legislating quite a bit from the desk in the Oval Office right now, and I don't like either of those, okay? I've explained why the $15 minimum wage is fucking mentally retarded, but it hasn't been put out everywhere yet, so it's just maybe for some federal employees, perhaps, potentially. And then getting rid of Schedule F employees, I think, is just fundamentally stupid and just creates a larger swamp, which is, well, apparently what 81 million people voted for. Apparently. But here's another one. You didn't really see this one coming. I remember Trump having to defend, are you going to overturn Roe v. Wade? Well, I guess finally that argument's going to be taken off the table because the White House announced Friday that the Biden administration will codify Roe v. Wade, which would allow for legal abortions in the event that the Supreme Court overturns the 1973 ruling, even though nobody has threatened that they're going to fucking overturn this, but just take the argument off the table, okay? Everybody, left and right, hates the decision, okay? Ruth Bader Ginsburg penned a scathing rebuttal of the judgment, okay? Mostly because it was just poorly decided upon, but it's there because, oh, my body, my choice. Now just take that vaccine and wear a mask, you fucking bigot. The Biden administration made the announcement in a press statement, put out by the White House. The Biden-Harris administration is committed to codifying Roe v. Wade and appointing judges that respect fundamental precedents like Roe v. Wade, reads the statement. Ah, I see a little thing in there. Appointing judges, huh? I've heard 6 on the Supreme Court. That's the most popular goings on right now, but that's the first time we've heard about appointing judges since, oh Christ, when were the debates? And neither one of those old kooks decided that they wanted to answer. Anyways, in the past 4 years, reproductive health, including the right to choose, has been under relentless and extreme attack. Could somebody cite the source on that one? Because I don't think I remember any sort of reproductive health right to choose being under extreme or relentless attack, but if you're trying to spin a narrative and the media is just going to run with it, by all means, yeah, go for it. We are deeply committed to making sure everyone has access to care, including reproductive health, regardless of income, whatever. The Trump administration over the last 4 years has enacted policies and laws that are pro-life as part of the administration's efforts. Trump called the defunding of Planned Parenthood and late-term abortions. Who is for late-term abortions, by the way? Okay? Who is for those 6 to 9 to, I don't know, the 9+ month abortions? I don't think reasonable people go for that. I think that's just the extreme cringe fringe openly advocate for late-term abortions. And the history of Planned Parenthood in and of itself, founder of somebody who is a strong proponent of eugenics and may or may not have been a full-out racist. And not like the left's determination of a racist where it's like, the power plus shut up. Like a legitimate eugenicist. Margaret Stanger, by the way. Yes, and we don't need to fault Trump for nominating 3 pro-life judges to the Supreme Court because they are also pro not doing their job. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said women should have the right to make their own health decisions. Yes, all of her eggs just clunked out in the fucking toilet and sounded like kidney stones on the way out anyways, so I have just as much of a right to talk about female reproductive health as old raisin ovaries. And I hate that argument anyways. You should have the right to talk about it anyways, so. And I'm going to, so. But here's not a real woman, Debbie Lesko's rebuttal of the Democratic insanity. Today, the tragic anniversary of Roe v. Wade, I am proud to be a pro-life woman in Congress and fight for the right to life for every unborn baby. Every life is a gift from God, and I will continue to defend the sanctity of life at every stage. This is not the first time Democrats have tried to codify Roe v. Wade, but it said in the beginning that was the first time. I'm glad I read through the rest of the articles. In May 2019, that says 2019. Democrats introduced the Women's Health Protection Act in Congress. The bill guarantees a pregnant person's, well, we got a problem right there. I could see why it was thrown out. Right to access an abortion and the right of an abortion provider to deliver these abortion services, abortion, free for medically unnecessary restrictions that interfere with a patient's individual choice of provider-patient relationship. Yes, paging Dr. Scholes. And if he's not available, Doc Martin, don't worry, dear, the specialist is just second door at the left at the bottom of the stairs. Oh, but enough about stewed tomatoes. Yesterday we touched on, and Joe Biden did significantly more touching on than I did, signed in the federal mask mandate. Or if you're on federal land, you have to wear a mask. And then he went to the Lincoln Memorial for a photo op, and not him or any of his extended family that were also with him were wearing a mask, and they were all shoulder to shoulder. Frankly, I don't care, but we live in a society where we gotta live by the most extreme rules, so follow your own fucking edicts, you crispy old cunt. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki defended President Joe Biden for failing to wear a mask on federal land despite signing a mandate ordering Americans to do so, not but hours before he went down to the Lincoln Memorial. Probably to visit an old classmate ensconced in marble. Biden and members of his family appeared at the Lincoln Memorial Wednesday evening without masks, despite the president signing a mask mandate for federal property earlier in the afternoon. On Thursday, Biden also spoke and signed executive orders at the White House without wearing a mask. I don't care, but live by your own rules, stupid. He was surrounded by his family. We take a number of this is what Psaki had to say. This Raggedy Ann stand-in. Listen, she's not an attractive woman. I already miss Kayleigh McEnany from the bottom of my heart. But the fact that she could just spin this and barely get pressed by anybody else in the press corps is exactly what everybody expected. Okay, there's no two ways about it. This is what we're getting now, and this is why people like myself and everybody else on this platform, wherever you're watching it, are going to be extremely important because, yeah, it's just going to be rules for thee and not for me, and gaslighting to the very, very dying days. Psaki was quick. Oh, right. Here we go. He was surrounded by his family. We take a number of precautions, but I think we have bigger issues to worry about at this moment in time. Let that sink in, okay? What did Biden exclusively run on for his campaign? Okay, nowhere. But what was his major talking points? Okay, it was all about, Trump's mishandling COVID. Okay, and then he takes the reins. He's like, we can't really do much more than vaccination strategy. They're pretty much on point with that, without ever giving Trump any sort of ups for proper appreciation for what he did. But they kept his doctor because I don't know. Now he has no strings, so he doesn't have to be worried about being held up. Fuck his Dobby looking ass while we're at it. No, everything was about, be scared of COVID. A dark winter is ahead. But according to the press secretary, we have bigger issues to worry about at this moment in time. Wear a mask. This will save 100,000 lives before the end of February. Unless I gotta do it. And I might strangle myself if I have to put this on by myself. Come on, man. You trust me with this? I bet you he wears Velcro shoes. Psaki was questioned about Joe Biden's apparent hypocrisy on masks by Fox News reporter Peter Doocy. But it appeared she did not have the prepared answer. Oh yeah, it was a stumbling, bumbling fuck up there. We have more important issues. Next question. I think he was celebrating the evening of the historic day in our country, and certainly he signed the mask mandate because it's a way to send a message to the American public about the importance of wearing masks. Oh yes, it just didn't have the desired effect, Jen. Because, okay, he's celebrating, therefore you don't need masks, and he signed the mandate earlier in the day because it's an important message to the American public because, repeat after me, rules for thee and not for me. When asked why Biden failed to lead by the power of his example that he frequently speaks about, Psaki replied, oh no, she actually had a statement. The power of his example is also the message he sends by signing 25 executive orders, including almost half of them related to COVID. Yes, I'll tell you how to live your life. Don't tell me to, because you're scary, and I don't remember your name. Nice press conference, Jake. Anyways, see why I said there's so much shit going on? We can barely keep it to just one day of failures, but here we go. Like, words that were purposefully fed through the back of his head and then sputtered out and coughed out through those microphones there. Nothing we can do to change pandemic's trajectory for several months. But he said that Trump didn't have a plan. And his doctors, if he would just listen to the scientists, everything would be better. But it's not. And there's nothing anybody can do to make it better. You look at every country around the world. We look to our friends. We don't stick our nose up to our friends. We don't take money from our friends. Oh, wait, yes, we do. Biden made a remark during press conference addressing the signage of two more executive orders, one aimed at increasing food stamps benefits. Ugh. See, they just want you stupid and poor and dependent on them. And the other for workers' rights. Yes, the right to go back to work? Nah. Right to stay home and be oppressed by the government? Yeah, buddy. If we fail to act, there will be a wave of evictions and foreclosures in the coming months as the pandemic rages on. Almost like you're cheering it on, Biden. There's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months. Because it's all Trump's fault, right? Because he didn't have the infrastructure in place. If I was in charge, everything would have been better. Well, you should have ran in 2016, you fucking old fossil. Who knows how much support you could have had then? Oh my God. Because people didn't know what they were expecting for Trump in 2016. My God, he would have had, what, 85, 90 million votes? Because he's just so goddamn popular. Biden's remarks come after the president signed an order mandating both masks and social distancing on federal property. A directive he and his members of the family violated, yes, very shortly afterwards. But yeah, the dude has no idea. I could just end that statement there. But in regards to COVID, he has no idea what he's doing. I could also just use that to describe most of his day, but saying that he has a plan. Trump has no plan. This is just another lie, but you can either go with the slogan of promises made, promises broken, or lies made, lies accomplished, whatever you like. I personally like promises made, promises broken. But that wasn't all, because of course not. He could not wait to flex his executive power. Biden White House announces new effort to focus on domestic violent extremism. Now, what does that mean? It's unclear. Because they haven't figured out how to properly word "we're trying to oppress straight white men," and then eventually some wrong-thinking straight white women. And then colored MAGA supporters, because it's a little bit too on the nose to say patriotic Americans. President Biden requested a comprehensive threat assessment on domestic violent extremism from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence on Friday in coordination with the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said, "It's just an unattractive last name too, Psaki." During a press briefing Friday, told reporters that the National Security Council will also build a new capability to focus on domestic violent extremism. Just catchy. She referred to as DVE. This is the tasking from President Biden sent to ODNI today, requesting a comprehensive threat assessment coordinated with the FBI and Department of Homeland Security on domestic violent extremism. Ugh. This assessment will draw on the analysis from across the government and, as appropriate, non-governmental organizations. Oh, buddy, if you guys already know what they're talking about, raise your hand. I can't see you. Sorry for making you raise your hand. Psaki added that the key point here was he wanted a fact-based analysis. Oh, okay. Two things. Not defining what a domestic violent extremist is, and then saying fact-based, all about his facts, not the actual facts. Like how the judge ruling in the Parler case, Parler instrumental in inciting all of the violence. Even though nobody arrested had a Parler account. still the case, by the way. Hey, just let that one slide. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Psaki said the decision on policy will rely on law enforcement and guidance from the intelligence community, and the goal would be to disrupt violent extremist networks and more. But what's behind door number 2? We are coordinating relevant parts of the federal government to address DVE, addressing evolving threats and reviewing the role of social media operations, responses, and more. There it is. If it wasn't blatantly obvious to begin with that they're friends in big tech, you just need to look at Biden's cabinet to see all the Facebook, Google, and Twitter employees that currently stock that withered old fucking cabinet. But yeah, just like Canada is probably going to be setting up, and it's already been, I don't know if it's been fast-tracked or if it's just being pushed through by the Heritage Minister to set up a Council of Truth and Reconciliation to feed out what and what cannot be on Canadian version of Twitter. Yeah, that's coming for the United States in order to prevent you against domestic terrorists, however they define it. And that's why they kept everything vague right now, because they're still developing everything. Even though we know who they're going to be targeting with this operation. Ugh, nothing good has come out of this lately. And unfortunately, we have a little bit more, and it's all going to be about what they being the Biden administration did with the National Guard troops, and that one makes me physically ill, and that's why it has to be a video all about its own heinous topics, and to also keep this video under an hour. So we'll get right on to that, and I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.